The vox populi, I believe is Latin for the voice of the people, or the voice of the majority. And the majority are emotional motherfuckers. The question I've been asked is, when do people get so emotional? Why is this generation so emotionally charged? Well, the simple answer is we're creatures of emotion from birth. Those babies that cry right out of the womb without getting hit, they sort of give you a hint and a half. So the emotions, the feels are built into us all. We just needed something to connect us. And that something was social media. The difference over the last 10 to 15 years is that more people know your thoughts, your likes and dislikes. More people know about your sadness and see pictures of your happiness. The issue is right there. See, thanks to social media, more people know. The question I've pondered personally is, does everyone deserve to be heard, even though we all have a voice? And I think the answer is that those who speak loud enough have done the proper work to be heard. But if you simply give an ear to anyone and everyone, well, then it becomes noise. If you think about it, Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech would sound far different and have much less impact if everyone in the crowd spoke amongst themselves during the entire speech. Since we're back in time, I'll take you guys to a different year. 42nd Street, New York City, in the 1970s when I was growing up. Not this Disney shit that you got today, but let's take it to the grimy shit that it was. Now see, that's real different, ain't it? And let me tell you, it had the people to match. New York was a powder keg of attitudes exploding at one another on any given day. You say the wrong thing to the wrong guy, and you would get fucked up right there on the streets. I'm not kidding. To be a New Yorker, you had to have an attitude, because the people around you were fucking jerks, showing once again that people affect people. Try your best to realize that as we go on, because it's a social rule that's damn near 100% correct in every scenario, and you don't even realize it. Anyway, back in the day, if you pissed someone off in old New York City, you were gonna hear about it. And it didn't matter where you were, except maybe church. I'll give you a quick scenario that was daily in New York City. You're in your car, waiting in traffic, and a guy would stick his head out the window and call someone a fucking asshole at the top of his lungs. Now here's my point. That guy, maybe at most 10 people heard him, including the one he got pissed off at. And then, that was it. Those people that heard it went on about their day. And as soon as the traffic began to move, so did the angry guy and his asshole buddy. Case closed. Today, you call someone an asshole on social media, and depending on how many people are in the conversation, you'll get 30 opinions on why that was right or wrong. Plus, that conversation can get tagged with your name on it, opening it up to opinions of total strangers. One situation can lead to 100 opinions that you know about. Seems it's already been established that just looking at the lives of other people on social media has a negative effect on your well-being. So imagine what knowing the opinions of 30 people will do to you, especially when the opinions are about you. What's even worse, social media, or being virtually social, doesn't allow you to move on. Tweets or combos from years prior have been dug up for people to comment on. And then, as usual, 100 people or more chime in with their opinions. And just like that, you know all about it. Even though the tweet or post is as old as shit. I'm all for social change, but only if it's for the good of us all. Don't ever get me wrong. A social push for the well-being of mankind is always the right push, but we should never push for negative shit to become the norm. When an experiment is damaging the organism more than helping, cut the fucking experiment. Either the theory is wrong or the organism is wrong for the experiment. You see what I'm saying? Human beings, emotional as we are, should not be continually bombarded with the negative opinions of the many. Hell, you can't even have too many positive comments toward one person, because there are many people who begin to believe everything they do is right. But the negative opinions have far worse effects. Kids have already killed themselves over the opinions of others on social media. So have adults. You can look at social media itself like a science project. And let's say you're the scientist who created it. You created a way for people to interact with one another at all times. No more unknown. Now, everything is public. We can all touch one another in a virtual sense. The shit sounds dope in theory. Like reading minds sounds cool in the beginning, until you see how sick some minds can be. Over time, you notice how the public opinions of so many affect other people in very negative ways. As a matter of fact, not only did your creation cause people to become depressed and anxious, but the opinions of others are actually influencing the actions of so many people to such a degree that society is starting to feel as though they can't do or say much of anything. Almost as though it's wrong to live the kind of life you want to live. It's at that point that you as a scientist would realize that you made a terrible mistake in allowing so many opinions to be known to the user. But then again, how did you expect a human being, an emotional creature, to be able to handle a bunch of negative opinions? I mean, honestly, did you expect humans would become used to it, thus desensitizing him or herself? That's not good at all. Such things make a colder society. Desensitized folks tend to have murderous traits. Is that what you want? Humans to get used to the very real negative impact of social media? Because they can, and they will. Unless somewhere down the line, human beings naturally get tired of using social media, which remains to be seen because, for now, all social media is designed to keep you engaged, because even Flavor Flav knew time is our most precious commodity, and that is why he wore the clock around his neck. And in this age of information, time is the new currency. The very reason social media opinions trigger such emotional responses is because human beings actually do give a shit about the opinions of other humans. Sure, a lot of them say they don't, but unless you're naturally able to ignore the voices of others, no, the opinions get to you at some point. See, Facebook and social media period allow people to connect on the surface, but it really showed how much people need someone to talk to, even at the expense of their health. They didn't realize that everyone shouldn't be listened to. You have to balance everything in life, including listening to other people and their problems, in order to give yourself time to reflect, to listen to yourself speak. If there's one good thing we can pull from all the negative that social media has done, is that it shows we do care about offending others to an extent. The reality shows us that, yes, I meant to make a racist joke, but I didn't want so many people angry about it, quote unquote. The words "so many" is the issue. It always has been and always will be. So many. Those two words alone, it alludes to excess, which is never a good thing to have. As I keep preaching on this channel, life is balance. We gotta keep it real here. Time and again, when we have too much, it's always a fucking issue. And our memories are naturally forgetful over time. So, the same heavy lessons have to be taught over and over. Why is that? I'll take a stab at answering that for you. The way I see it is like this, and you'll laugh and you'll think it's crazy. But just hear me out. I don't think you're a grown man or a grown woman until you're like 70 years old. I'm serious. When you're not too far from death, because you've been around for so many knuckleheaded decisions. You've been around to see generations of mistakes. You know, you get it at that age. You can see a dumbass move from a mile away. That is wisdom of age. And you gotta be around, living, to actually get it. And it's worth sticking around for, just so you young people out there know. See, a 50-year-old man is missing 20 whole years of living that the 70-year-old man has. Consider that shit. 20 whole years. See, the older folks know the truth. You're always a work in progress. As long as your body and mind function well enough to take in and process life data. But since we don't listen to the older generation, we forget the lessons of the past. They die with the old generation. How long have we known that too much of anything is never a good thing? What, at least a century? And that's being kind. It's really centuries. We got fairy tales about the fall of those who are excessive about anything. Money, attention, loving everybody, excessive punishment, on and on and on. People, you cannot expect others to control your life. People that want to make money are hoping you get excessive because they want excessive wealth for themselves. They want to be rich, which one day they will get depressed about because there's such a thing as, wait for it, too much money. Money, more problems. It's up to you to limit your exposure to things. How can you enjoy 10 different life experiences that will prove very rewarding if you excessively focused on one thing? That one thing could be social media, or the job, or the person you're in love with, etc. Look at how much time you spend on things you do. For most of you out there, there's something you're excessive about. And there's only 24 hours in a day, this we know. What we don't know is how many hours total we have yet to live. Time is the new currency, but it's always been a limited commodity for us humans. Life is not about experiencing excesses. Maybe 1 or 2 times to know what it's like so that you know the downfall of it, but hopefully, lesson learned and that's it. You gotta know yourself, and you know yourself by living, exposing yourself to the human experience. If you know that negative opinions bother you a lot, then you better not use social media, because you're going to run into a lot of negative opinions at some point. Truth is, not everyone is gonna like what you say all the time. And here's a newsflash, they ain't supposed to, because you have your own mind and your own point of view by fact. No one sees the world the exact same way. Your individuality is precious. Don't give it up by letting the influence of others shape who you are. If negative comments bother you and you gotta use social media, then turn your comments off. However, that keeps any positive comments out as well. The question becomes, do you need those comments? And how come if you do? Sure, we all like when someone says something nice about us, but do you need 20 folks to like your picture? Back in the day, if you were walking outside and one person told you that you looked good, it would make your entire day. If one person can make your day with a compliment, then what do you think 30 virtual opinions would do? Especially when they don't all agree. 28 good ones, then 2 negative opinions, leading you to focus on those 2 negatives. You don't even give a fuck about the law of averages. Just that those 2 folks didn't like what they saw or had a negative comment. You know I'm right. Likes and dislikes are a problem. The facts are, we care, excessively so. And that excessive care about one thing is a recipe for disaster. I feel that at some point Facebook will actually allow you to limit replies. This not only protects the poster from too many opinions, it also protects the poster from themselves. Because sooner or later, a comment is going to trigger you to spaz out, possibly becoming the next online repost that costs you your job. But the best thing to do is to limit your time with any one thing. Get outside and experience actual social discourse. Disagree with one person during a conversation and learn. It's a more rewarding experience than arguing with a bunch of people who aren't anywhere near you and are free to say things they wouldn't dare say in your face. The facts are, this is still a politically correct culture, or PC culture as they say. And political correctness was never a good thing. It's a way politicians talk to people they needed votes from. It's a way of sugarcoating a shit sandwich or bullshitting one another. But it seems that there's very little political correctness online. In the virtual world, the fake world of social media, folks are their true selves, hypersensitive or racist, freaky or just lonely, outwardly God-loving or outwardly atheist. Isn't it ironic as hell that for realness, you gotta go online instead of face to face? We gotta flip that shit, man. Because by and large, we aren't dealing with our emotions any better, or the trials of life, by being fake in real life, which is the only kind of life that matters. New York, 1970. Hell, any place in the 1970s, it was grimy, it was mean, but it wasn't political. It didn't give a fuck about being correct. What you saw is what you got. You knew who the hoes were, who the pimps were. You knew from sight which cops were having a bad day. They didn't act like they gave a shit about protecting and serving. They were just doing a low-paying job and wishing somebody would fuck with them. Color didn't matter. They had big guns and they wanted to use them. And political correctness, let me tell you, the politicians gave way less of a fuck back then. And President Reagan got shot during his presidency. What can I say? People hated Reaganomics. You know, it's wrong to shoot anyone, but in typical old school fashion, the people in my day didn't bullshit around. When did people get so reactionary? When did people get so emotional? We are human beings. We are emotional. We always have been. Respect those emotions, but learn how to deal with them. Toughen up. Press on. Bitching online just because you can and it's convenient does not take any kind of strength of character. And if something doesn't challenge you, then you're going to be weak in that particular regard. I've seen all kinds of online challenges. Fake tough guys to ice bucket challenges. The real challenge, get offline and get back in each other's face. Talk with or without emotion, but talk face to face. Put your social media away and fuck FaceTime or video calling. Sure, it'll be rocky at first because this is such a generation of hidden snakes and bullshitters, but if we kept being in one another's face and holding one another actually accountable, then liars have a harder time. Just like politicians have a harder time, quote unquote, acting correct when the pressure is on. Speaking of politicians, I gotta say, seriously, President Trump would have fit in perfectly during the 70s and 80s as president. My generation would not have given anywhere near a shit as I've seen this generation give. I know I personally don't care at all about what Trump does because I've seen it before. See, Trump is a throwback. What you see is what you get. He doesn't care. He's rich. He will lie outwardly, and he outwardly surrounds himself with folks who agree with him. He outwardly tells you who he doesn't care about and makes fun of people he feels is beneath him. Trump is the opposite of these politically correct times. That's exactly why everything he does triggers the shit out of this generation. You guys like your politicians dancing and talking and acting like they have your best interests at heart. Trump ain't about that life. He literally gets on Twitter and trolls the shit out of people for fun. You think if no one reacted, he would do that shit? The man is rich and he is president. His inner motto is, fuck y'all feelings. I'm no supporter of his by any means. I don't have a political affiliation. I'm a man among the people. That would be the real power, thank you very much. But like billions of others, here I am with the public opinion. So consider this. Trump is an older man from an older time, just like me. If you're young, you should be taking notes on how a person marches to their own beat and makes no apologies. See how a person makes moves regardless of how others feel. Because everybody is in their feels nowadays. There's a fine line, because if you care excessively about the feelings of others, you lose yourself. But if you excessively don't give a fuck about the feelings of others, then you lack empathy. So you box yourself in either case. There's a balance. There's only so much time we have in our lives, which means there's a limit to how many fucks we can give to things we experience. So let's summarize this. Time is precious. Don't spend it all focusing on one aspect of life. There's more to life than society. There's the experience of living your own life. Speaking of which, limit your virtual time. The reason society seems rather divided or hypercritical of one another, or even so PC, is due to the fact that even though social media is designed to connect people, it divides because we now know each other's displeasure loud and clear. Back in the day, I remember folks wanted to read minds. Well, now society has a taste of that ability, and it turns out it's not good to know what everyone else is thinking. Why? Because the truth has always hurt. We are emotional creatures, and as such, we cannot handle knowing every bitch, gripe, and complaint. But thanks to social media, that's exactly what you have the ability to do. 100 likes and 20 dislikes, and those 20 dislikes will fuck with the average human, especially if you're particularly sensitive. Does it all mean we like to be bullshitted and lied to? No, it doesn't. What it means is that we cannot handle knowing every little bit of displeasure people feel about the shit that we say or do. We were always individuals, and as such, we aren't here to agree with each other on everything. Social media exposes that fact. It puts that fact right in each other's faces, and because of that, people like one another less. Because, well, we got to know each other. And it turns out that we as humans aren't always cool to be around. We like our space, and your so-called friends won't agree with you all the time. And that's the way it should be. Learn the truth, speak the real to each other. But there's a time and a place. Social media makes that time and place all the fucking time. That's the damn problem. Fix it. Emotions, we all have them. No matter the emotional situation, take a deep breath and use some brain power to balance it out. That's what logic is for. When you get angry, logic is supposed to kick in and say, hey, if you whip this guy's ass, you're probably gonna go to jail. Do you wanna go to jail? Nah. Then I guess you better settle down and walk away. Balance. Lastly, there's only so many fucks you should be giving. Use your fucks wisely. You give out too many and you'll run out of fucks to give. leaving you feeling burned out and caring less about everything, even yourself. So, fuck responsibly. Advice from an older man, kids.